Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jean Gallagher, founder of Discover Rising Tides. And welcome to Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better, where we explore the importance of the outdoors and maintaining life balance. Through this series, we'll be talking with women business owners and to understand their journey. And today, our guest is Dr. Shelia Whiteman. Shelia is a doctor of physical therapy and a certified health coach. He specializes in working with clients with pelvic health issues and has treated hundreds of women for pelvic floor disorders, including urinary incontinence and related issues. In addition, she also provides health coaching for women to optimize their overall well-being, focusing on 3 pillars of health: nutrition, movement, and sleep. Dr. Whiteman is the 2-time best-selling author of Pee or Not to Pee, and a guide for reducing and eliminating urinary incontinence, and Stop Worrying About Bladder Leaks, the guide to overcoming urinary incontinence. In addition to personal coaching, she has several online programs to improve women's health and well-being, and she's also a Pilates instructor and teaches Pilates classes weekly. But first, we start with our Healthy Living Happy Life segment with Denise Stegall. Hey, Denise.
Hey, Jean. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And Denise is an international best-selling author of Healthy Living, Happy Life, a practical path to finding a healthy lifestyle that works for you, and curator at Living Healthy List. So this month's topic is fitness after 50. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we both qualify.
Well, we can speak from experience.
Oh, that's what it is. But yeah, maybe fortunately we qualify. Some of us qualify more than the other.
But we qualify.
Yes. So what do you have for us today?
Well, I'm really excited about this year. This new year, as we embark on New Year, everybody goes, new year, new you. Let's reflect. Let's do this. Oh my God, it's like sickening. And I thought about this, like, I need to be a new me. I like who I am, but maybe I need to, maybe I want to expect a little bit more. I'm looking for a little bit more. So instead of new year, new you, which is everybody's mantra, my mantra for the year is expect more in 2024. And that said,
got a little jingle to
it. There's that alliteration again. With that said, you can't just sit back and go, oh, I want to expect more. We actually have to do something physically, emotionally, mentally to make that happen. And so January, I love talking about fitness and fitness over 50, because it's such a big part of our lives. And it's a part that so many people, as they start to get older, say, oh, I can't do this anymore. Oh, my knees creak. I can't do this. And so they do actually less and less activity when they really need to be doing more and more activity, just different activities that work for them. And of course, each one of us is different. My best friend, Jen, she is amazing. She's an athletic trainer. She can lift millions of weights. She can do all sorts of things that my body at the same age is not quite up to, my body can't quite do that at this point. She's been doing it for years. It's part of what she does as a career. So that, so she can do all of these amazing things. She's done CrossFit, and she's amazing at, she's a trainer over at Orange Theory, and she can do a lot of those things with ease. Now, when I try to do some of those things, yes, I can do them, but I need to do them at my speed, with, the amount of weight that makes sense for me. So that's really what I'm
quality,
talking about.
not quantity.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's always that challenge of keeping up with the Joneses. And there's a slight ego thing that happens within all of that too. And I think that we have to put that aside and not think about what we used to be able to do. It is what can you do today, and how can you make today better?
Right. So the question I always have is, who the heck are the Joneses anyway?
Yeah. And why are they so important?
It really, and it's true. And social media has really, really been a challenge in this respect, because we see people that, we see them at their best, dressed their best, looking their best. And we feel like we need to look like that. And so maybe the social media is the Joneses, are the Joneses. But it is so important to understand, step back and kind of self-assess, like, where am I today? What have I been doing, most recently? What do I enjoy? And how can I bring exercise and movement into my daily routine and make it fun?
Mhm, mhm.
So I guess one of the things that,
Wait, before you
people,
do that, fun is, I was thinking, because fun is important. And especially when you're talking about physical exercise, because I think that there could be mentally some drudgery that will keep us from doing it there, or it's hard. Hard can be fun though, but it really all depends upon how we feel about it on the inside, and control that so that we're not regretting what we have to do.
oh, absolutely. If it's not fun, you're not going to do it. And that goes back to that, that New Year's resolution. I'm going to lose weight. And so people go on this crazy diet, or they go to the gym, and for a week they do all of these crazy things. They get up to the treadmill, and they're going to run, 6 miles, yet they haven't walked around the block,
Right.
in ages. Or, they start picking up weights that are way too heavy. Sure, before I hurt my shoulder, I could easily pick up, two 30-pound dumbbells in my hands. Well, I've got a bum shoulder now. Guess what? It's 8 pounds.
Mhm.
So, people have to remember that, understand where they are. And the fun piece, if you don't like going to the gym, don't go to the gym.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't like going to the gym. So I have a mini gym here in my house. And this way it's a lot more fun because I can do it whenever I want. Caveat to that, I do put it in my calendar. I schedule my
No,
workouts, and I
have
always
to,
do. I
have
always do
to.
encourage that. But getting it back to that fun piece, exercise doesn't have to be going to the gym or going to boot camp or classes. They're available for people. There's a ton of them online, by the way.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it's stepping back and remembering, like, what did you enjoy when you were younger? I have a friend who used to play football. And so on the weekends, he's on a flag football team. So, and it's fun. And so because he wants to be in good shape for that, during the week, he'll go for a run a couple of times a week. He said, he'll say, I'm not running, 10 miles a day. He goes, maybe it's 3 miles, 3 miles a couple of times a week. And that gets me really excited about the fun that we're going to have on the weekend, because I'm going to be in good shape. I'm going to have the stamina.
Mhm.
So it really is about figuring out again what you like.
Mhm. And I think too, it's important to, some of that expectation, or the expect more or do more, or having these New Year's resolutions. They, after that honeymoon period, mid-February, it gets kind of old, because I think we forget why we wanted to do this. And for me, what I like to try to do is to think about, as long as I'm consistent, this is what I'm going to get out of it, and remind yourself of why you're there. Not, oh my God, I got to get up again early in the morning.
So what, yeah, exactly. So what is the goal? Is the goal to lose weight? That's one thing. Is the goal to feel better, to have more energy, and then actually to track those things?
Mhm.
That's an important piece, because if we don't track things, then one, we get bored. We won't see progress. If you're
Mhm.
not going to, if you don't see progress, even if it's in front of you, if you don't see the progress, you're not going to continue. Um, and I think that's kind of where those SMART goals come in,
Mhm.
or smarter goals. They need to be obviously relevant. But in there should be an F. We should somehow have the word F in there, because, or an F word, because it does need to be fun again. So SMART
Oh,
goals
not
with
that word. I'm confused.
not that F word.
Oh,
So I do want quickly, we definitely want people to start moving more. We want them to get back into a fitness routine. And again, whatever that means to somebody, it's something that they need to actually either sit down and figure out themselves, talk with a health coach. Shelia would be Dr. Shelia, who you'll be talking to in a little bit. She'd be a great person to talk to. I'm always here and happy to talk to people about a fitness routine that fits their lifestyle. A couple of things that I think is really important that, we think always, exercise and movement and weight loss. It's almost the number one thing that people always talk about. But at 50 plus, some of the things we also need to think about is our bone density. As we get older, our bones start to get a little frail and our, joints get a little creaky. Mine definitely creak as I walk up the stairs. But with some strength training, it doesn't have to be a lot of strength training. 15 minutes of HIIT twice a week. People will notice the difference in both of those areas. And not just like the physical strength that they can pick up heavier things, but they actually feel stronger in their body. They stand taller rather than the hunch that you start to see older people start to get. We don't want that. Because once we start hunching, all of a sudden, we can't stand up straight.
And making sure your core is strong.
Yes, absolutely. And, with that muscle mass, it's not about having these huge muscles. It is about muscle mass and tone. And yes, if you're building muscle mass, and that's lean muscle mass, not like I'm saying, these big bodybuilders. When you're building muscle mass, you are losing fat. Whether or not that's the goal, I like the goal really setting the goal as I can lift X amount of weight, this amount of, how often, the reps, and keeping track of that, because that's a lot more fun than stepping on the scale going, oh, I lost 1/4 pound. But hey, you lose 1/4 pound. And then of course, the third thing that I just want to touch on, these are the important health reasons, aside from the physical, health reasons, as opposed to the, feeling good and looking good. The third one is your metabolism. When you exercise, you increase your metabolic rate, which in turn burns calories. And if you burn calories, you're going to lose that weight, that stubborn weight that some of us, that people come to a health coach for. And I would say 99.9% of people that come to me want to lose weight. And that's the last thing we actually focus on.
Great. This is a great topic for this month. I'm really excited to dive in deeper in the next segments too.
Me too.
Thanks, Denise.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Denise Stegall. I am the Healthy Lifestyle Coach, or the Healthy Living Liaison, and curator at livinghealthylist.com. And I'm really excited today about my recent conversation with my friend, Jean Gallagher. Jean is a financial advisor with Seaside Solutions and the amazing host of the podcast, Discover Rising Tides, How the Outside Makes the Inside Better. We had an in-depth conversation on the topic of, get this, contentment, and why that is actually a bad thing for you. Watch more and subscribe to Discover Rising Tides at discoverrisingtides.com. I'll see you there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. And thanks so much for listening. I'm excited to introduce to you Dr. Shelia Whiteman. And Shelia, thank you so much for being here. I know that you connected with me through Denise, and so I'm grateful for that. And so give me a little bit of your background and tell me a little bit about you and how you got started, and we'll dive in.
Okay, yeah, we can start there. That's a long story though, so I'm going to start to break that up a little bit because I am not.
We could take a medium story. It doesn't have to be too short.
I was going to say, but like I said, I'm not 20, so this might,
Yeah,
start
I hear that.
But my background actually is I am a physical therapist. So I've been a physical therapist for over 35 years now. And I started actually loving that, doing orthopedics and doing, general, what you would think a physical therapist does, but we also do branch out into specialties. So towards the last 10, 15 years of my career, I had branched out to first oncology rehab, breast cancer rehab, from there lymphedema, and then women's health, which included women's pelvic health. So that's where I kind of landed and stayed for quite some time. In all of this journey, I've also been teaching various exercise platforms. So that's been a 20-year journey of doing that. So I've taught all the usuals, the Zumba, the kickboxing, the weight training, all of those. But I've also taught for many years, and I still do Pilates. So I teach Pilates equipment, Pilates mat. And probably about 3 years ago, and we'll say pandemic, because pandemic changed lives. Okay.
Yeah, that it did.
Yes. So pandemic is when I stopped wanting to work in a clinic, as many of us did, actually. Many therapists kind of headed out, but and switched over to health coaching. So I went back, got a certification in health coaching. So now I do health coaching, which includes some of the things that I did in physical therapy, which is chronic pain management, obesity, diabetes, etc. And then also I do a lot with bladder leaks. And like I said, I do still teach Pilates. So that's the journey. And then you, of course, have to refresh my memory on the second part of the question.
Well, let's start there and we'll work towards the second part of the question. And so it's interesting talking to people of the before and the after COVID, and we all reference before COVID and after COVID and how things have changed. And I can understand that it really did, it enlightens, I think, a lot of people as to what's possible. Because before COVID, we were just in that rat race of this is what we do, this is my position, or this is my business, and this is my responsibility, and this is what this looks like. But COVID forced us all to reflect on how could we do this differently, or what's really important to me, or how can I serve women or others better? Do you agree?
Yes, I definitely agree with that. Well, COVID, yes, because what it did was COVID was good in some ways, and in some ways it was not, because it did take away the personalization of the relationships of treatments, but it added in efficiency.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it actually depends on how you want to look at it when it comes to what I do, which is actually ensuring and making the health and wellness of particularly women, but I can work with anyone, particularly women though, to make their lives so that they are living better, living healthier, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, everything.
Before COVID, did you see yourself as a health coach?
Well, if you're a physical therapist,
but really you were, as a physical therapist, that is what you do.
Yes.
But defining yourself as a health coach, could you have envisioned that would happen?
No, but it was a natural progression, because I don't know if I would have stopped doing physical therapy. So I would not have had to transition over to anything else. I would have probably just done that until I didn't want to do it anymore. And
And the health coaching is really, I think, another piece of COVID, or maybe a positive piece of COVID. It's, for some reason, it's given us permission to ask others for help, whether we've become more self-reflective, or maybe it is like you had mentioned, the change of in person and going to somebody in person, or that we became more sequestered, but it brought something else out that also gave us the ability to ask for help, or gee, I wonder how could I make myself better, and from a more rounded outlook.
I agree with that. I think a lot of that too has to, not a lot, but some of it has to do with the effect of COVID on the younger people, which then translated to us, people being
Mm.
older. Younger people are a lot more open about their mental
Mhm.
health.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that I think helped us, older people, become more open also, because it wasn't for a time, that generation, it was a stigma. Now it is not, because you best believe they will sit there and, I was just out with young people and they were all just sitting there talking about their therapist. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh,
Mhm.
okay, this is an interesting little conversation here. I mean, I didn't have anything to add, but I was like, keep talking. So it was very enlightening.
I never thought of that, but you're right. You're right, because
Yeah,
it was, if you had a therapist, that was behind closed doors.
yeah.
Nobody talked about that. That's very true.
Mhm.
That's very true.
Yeah, and a lot of
And
them
I think,
have no problem
oh,
seeking a therapist. They have no problem with it.
and I think what's interesting too on that same subject of stigmas is that pelvic health were not two words that went together ever.
Right, right. Yeah.
Nobody actually said pelvic or anything else that was in
Oh
that
God,
region.
no,
And
no.
then when you added health onto it, oh no way.
Yeah, yeah, and then and it's like, what is that, and what do you have to do? And I don't even really want a part of that. But yes, it is more mainstream now. It is more mainstream now because you see commercials. Um, Corporate has seen that there is money in this. So if you're looking at television, it is nothing to see, women pulling on the incontinence panties, and so it's just like it's out there. It's out there. And unfortunately, not the non-positive about that is that people are normalizing the fact that you can have bladder leaks and it's cool because you can just put on this
Right.
underwear. But
It's not a solution. It's just a band-aid, but
it's
it's not
just a
talking about
band-aid.
the health portion of it.
Right, because they don't but it opened people's eyes to, okay, well, wait a minute, we don't have to suffer for anything in silence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important to be able to have these conversations, comfortably have these conversations, or be able to search out people that can help you with these conversations. And when we're talking about health, and correct me or tell me if I'm heading down the wrong path, but what I've noticed is that health is more than talking to your doctor. It is, people are open to having, or maybe it's in the land of podcasts, that there's so much information out there that good information from people that are knowledgeable about different aspects of health. And it broadens our minds to think, well, maybe I do need to consider what I consume and what I do for activity, and how it's all connected to make myself be a stronger self as I age.
Yeah, there is so much information on there, and the fact that we are living longer, a lot of, and the fact that we live longer means that we also see our counterparts who don't take as much time to take care of themselves not age as well. So I think,
boy, that's a motivating factor.
yeah, that is a very motivating factor. And so many, probably the average person can see, a family member, a friend, whoever who fits into that category. And it's frightening. So, as you age, we all age, and we're all, aging well. But aging can be scary. So you do want to live your best life no matter how old you are, because there are very aspirational 100-year-olds who do well, actually.
Well, let me tell you about this lady I know.
Yeah.
And she's 94 years old. Her birthday was yesterday, and she goes to CrossFit. She is absolutely amazing. The doctors told her before she started to go, the doctors told her that you would, at this point in your life, early 90s, you'll never reach your arms above your head.
Oh.
And Yeah. And so she said, well, that doesn't make any sense, and started to go to CrossFit. And of course, it's modified. But I will tell you, watching this lady do a version of burpees is absolutely incredible. You think that all of your problems go away. She is so inspirational. But what I want to touch on, I have two questions. One is I want to know more about your health clients and the demographics and the people that you help. But I want to talk about weight training and the importance of weight training, especially as a female, and especially for those of us that are no longer 40 or no longer 50.
Yeah, weight training is really important. I don't think people realize how early we begin to lose muscle mass. I think it's might be 35, somewhere in there. Yeah, that and you lose a percentage every year. We just the norm. And if you don't do anything to combat that, when you get to, and the age is really kind of early, when you get to your 60s and 70s, you're almost a little frail. Like you don't have strength. You those are the people who have difficulty even opening jars or doing going up steps, doing the things that we normally would have to do to be able to
Tying their shoes.
Yes. So to combat that, yes, weight training is extremely important. It's important for building muscle mass, for building your bone mass. Your bone also decreases yearly. And for women, our protection for the non-rapid loss of bone is estrogen, which depletes at menopause. And it also depletes, if you have to have a surgical, if there's a surgical menopause. So you really have to try to combat that also with exercise. Exercise keeps your metabolism going. It helps you to maintain and regulate your weight. So it has a lot of benefits that you should just keep doing this as long as you possibly can, even for 1, 2, as you get older, even if you use lighter weights. It doesn't make any difference. You don't have to use heavy weights in order to get the benefit of doing weight training.
I never really considered it. Well, cardio is easy. Cardio is not easy, but in general, cardio is easy as far as you can go for a walk, you can go for a run, you can go for a bicycle ride, you can go for a hike, you can do all of those things, and you think that you're covering everything that you need. But what happened for me is that I realized, as you mentioned already, I've seen people in my age group that are not doing anything, or I can watch their decline. And then I realized, well, wait a second, I am that age group. And there's a realization, right? Hold on, time out. I am that age group. And it's not the cardio. The cardio is very important, but that is not everything, because all of a sudden, what are we going to do in the next 10 or the next 20 years? Because, our parents, other generations, 60 and 70 were very different than they are right now for us currently right now.
Yeah. And their childhoods were different though, too. I think they probably were able to even build more residual bone mass from the beginning, because they were the milk drinkers. They were the extremely active children. They did a lot more even manual type labor as their profession. Our professions are
interesting.
More, yeah. So our professions are more, half of them are computer based, probably, where you
sedentary.
You sit a good part of the day. And children now, and even going back probably even 20, 30 years, we started driving our children everywhere, or they don't play outside as much as they did. They did not have that freedom. So
so now the future generations, us too, we are so stuck on electronics and our phones, and then you have the younger generations currently now that are video games and TVs and sedentary.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
I
changing
don't know
that
what's gonna
mindset.
happen with that. But the great advantage with them is that they have more medical knowledge and more access to it.
Mhm.
So they might be able to combat that maybe
Mhm.
as they age.
Mhm.
That I don't know.
So what I hope so.
Yeah.
What are your demographics for as a health coach? What are the types of people that are finding you?
So the demographics, they range, it's really a wide range. So if I have people who are younger, and that's in the, I would say 26 to 35 range. So
Mhm.
I'm working with them either for weight management of a chronic disease, so that's like diabetes, or bladder leaks, because they
Mhm.
do have bladder leaks. Some of the ones I work with. I also work with women postpartum who, you do have many women have bladder leaks when they're towards the end of their pregnancy, but when it lasts at 6 to 12 months past that, then it's unusual and
Mhm.
not the norm. So I see them. When it comes to the middle range, 40, I would even say 40 to 60, maybe even above that, but people above 35, 40, I'll say it like that. Then it's chronic disease management, um, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and then management of, say, for example, fibromyalgia, some of those diseases, to help them to begin to exercise, begin to move, begin to do things so that they're not so tired, to be able to gauge what they can and cannot do, and then of course push them further, so that
Mhm.
they can be as comfortable as they can, doing as much as they can throughout the day. And
Mhm.
then I have programs, several programs that are geared towards bladder leaks, because that is what I took out of the pelvic health realm that I was doing
Mhm.
to health coaching, because that is something that is manageable and can be eliminated with an online type program in education
Mhm.
and exercise. So I have online programs for that.
Can we talk about that just a little bit?
Sure.
The bladder leak part,
Mhm.
because um, I know nothing about this other than it happens, right? So I struggle with the right questions to ask you, but what you mentioned, which I surprised me, is that you're talking with the people in the 26 to 35-year-old group for that issue as well. And my first thought was, oh, probably after pregnancy. But is that always the case?
Is it is it always the case that women after pregnancy continue to leak?
No, no, actually, it was my bad question. Is it always the case that if you're talking to a woman that's younger and she has a bladder leak, was it really caused from a pregnancy, or are there
No.
other reasons for that to happen?
Okay, I understand. Yeah,
Yeah,
usually,
that
yeah,
was all me.
yeah, it was kind of, but that's a 50-50. No, no, a lot of the women I work with have never been pregnant. Like
Oh, wow.
they've never been pregnant. So, and
Mhm.
I start to see them for something else. Either they need to get jump started on weight loss or something like that. But I always do ask several questions, because if you're gonna spend the money to see me, then we might as well just talk about everything. Okay. So we get everything off the table. And then whatever I can help you with, I'm going to help you with, whether that's what you came to me for or not, if you want it. If you want to. So they will
I
come and
like that a lot, because a lot of people come to a person for, here's my problem, and then the person that's providing the service says, well, here's the fix to your problem, but they don't ask about these other areas because everything is connected.
everything is connected. But that's the kind of
Mhm.
physical therapist I was, though. That's why the profession got a little
Mm.
harder as I stayed in it longer, because it became more revolving door type
Yes.
of profession because of, you had to make this money, you had to do this, you had to do that because of, the way it started. But back when I started, you could treat the whole person. Now, if you go to therapy, well, if you had knee pain, you're going to be seen for that knee pain. And if you have to come back for your shoulder, well, you're coming back for your shoulder on a different diagnosis. So we can kind of keep spreading this situation out.
But it is all connected.
But it is all connected. So even when I was a therapist, if you came to me for your knee and you said, okay, well, my back, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, we're working on this back too, because you're not going to come back to see me over and over, because who has this copay money and who's doing this? So yeah, so that just carried over from just a kind of, I guess, practitioner I've always been. So yeah, so if you've said to me, and some of them have said to me since I was a kid, I've had issues with either leaking or having to go to the bathroom too frequently, like I have to run to the bathroom. That's kind of, and sometimes that's where it starts, like I'll just ask a general question or whatever. And I always ask the question, do you have any problems with leaking or anything? I ask that everybody just because of that's who I do. But if you say to me, okay, well, I'm at work and my goodness, every time I turn on, I have to go to the bathroom. Okay, well, wait a minute, let's address that, because it's not just bladder leaks, it's urinary frequency, which is going to the bathroom some people is every 45 minutes, every hour. It's very disruptive. That doesn't have to be. We can fix that. It's waking up at night to go to the bathroom several times where you don't get enough sleep. And sleep is, if we're not sleeping, we're not healthy.
It's true. Very true.
Period. So yeah. So that is another, or having to figure out what kind of bladder leaks you have. So it's of course it's the cough, sneeze, stress. It's the key in the door. I know I'm getting ready to walk on the door. I got to run to the bathroom because I have to run to the bathroom because my brain tells me that. Or if I hear running water, well, okay, well, I got to go to the bathroom. So there's different kinds of bladder leaks, and there's different things that you can do to reduce and eliminate them, which is why sometimes it's not so successful when you're trying at home, because you go to your doctor say do Kegels. Number one, you don't know what they're talking about. It's like, okay, fine, I'll keep squeezing until whatever. But if you're not doing it correctly, what difference does it make? You kind of just wasting your time. Yeah.
Interesting. And there's a stigma around that. So I applaud you for being the person to ask the question, to open the conversation.
Yes. Well, and asking that kind of question, I ask a lot of invasive questions. So I'm just saying. So
it's your job.
You don't really get to know. And if you're and I can kind of gauge you, depending on how you answer me, I can gauge how far, you want to go with it. But most people are comfortable enough where they'll answer whatever I ask them. Now, whether they not.
I think a lot of people that are reaching out for the help is that they're hoping you're going to ask the difficult questions because they're not comfortable broaching the subject themselves, or don't know how,
or who to talk to. Who are you going to talk to? That's kind of really the main issue, is you don't know who to talk to about what.
Good point.
Yeah, because everybody's specialized. You don't know what special, we all talk to your general doctor, your internist, or whoever you go to. But a lot of times their job actually is to make sure that you stay alive and then send you to the next person if you need a specialist. Or it could be something that they're not going to ask you about, because why would they? And sometimes you get in there and you're so rushed. If you don't write it down or whatever, you're not even going to remember.
No. And that 8 minutes that you have for that $400 fee. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. So
that's true. And that also brings up a really great point too. So that if people are talking with a health coach and they're really getting a more rounded understanding of their situation, so that when they do go to their doctor, they're actually more well informed about themselves to have those conversations, right?
Oh yeah, that's the beauty. Yeah, to me, that's the beauty of it, because it's the education part. Because
Mhm.
even when you leave me, you still want to have enough information about you to be able to ask the questions that will keep you healthy. Like you need
Mhm.
to know
Mhm.
enough about you, and you also need to know enough about you to not accept an answer that you're not comfortable with. To
Could
ask.
you say that? Hold on a second. That needs another. Can you say that again? Because that was a really important point. You
Ooh,
know enough about you.
you know enough about you to ask a follow-up question to anything that you're not comfortable with, that they gave an answer
Mm.
to.
Mm.
Because if you know enough, and you don't have to, you don't have to pull out the medical book. It's nothing like that. But that base knowledge that you have about who I am, what I'm supposed to feel,
Mhm.
and how I'm supposed to feel at my best, that's when you
Mhm.
keep asking the questions when you don't.
Mm. Yeah, that's really important, because I think too, when there's a chronic illness or a chronic situation, you get used to feeling not okay.
Yeah.
So your baseline changes, or maybe it's your internal expectation used to changes, and then it, prior to that chronic thing, you might be feeling this is your baseline of how you feel, but that as that chronic disease or that chronic situation that you're living with, you become used to not being okay, so that it changes your personal outlook of the situation. But you asking questions can also bring back to the surface, well, wait a second, this you should be here, not
Mhm.
where you're at, so let's work towards that. And I think that would help internally help people grasp what they should be asking, and how they should be feeling.
Right. Yes. Or even to always try to ask a follow-up question.
Mhm.
Doesn't, just always, because that might open up the door to another conversation of something that might be a benefit to you.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
don't accept. And and I'm not um saying this in a negative way. I'm saying it more of, be your own advocate.
Mhm. And then the best way to be our advocate is to have information.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And that's where what you do is so important, because you are bringing that education and that support and providing tools for us to get better as well.
Yeah. And working one-on-one, it's not just the general tools, because we all have Google and WebMD.
We're all going
Everybody.
to die if we Google.
I was gonna
Just
say,
Google it.
everybody. Don't let them give you something, that word that you looking it up on Google. But that does not mean that word that you look up on Google, or that diagnosis that you see on Google, that the symptoms are going to be the same for you. You're going to react the same. You need the same treatment.
Mhm.
Everybody is individualized. So that's why it's
Mhm.
really nice to not only get your information, and I don't even like for people to Google a lot, because Google will have all of us dying, of course.
Right. Exactly.
And then we really all will need therapy. So we want to stay away from really diving into that as much as we can. Maybe some general information, yes, but to get information from someone who is a health professional that is related to whatever you need.
And so when people work with you, what does that look like? What's the process in your coaching sessions like?
Well, the process, so after the first session, because the first session is really where I get an idea of what's going on. And every session, you still have things that you need to do before the next time I see you.
Mhm.
And that's something that both of us kind of talk about. And then you set the goal. And I kind of agree with you, put it that way. But everybody has, and it's always a small step, because we
Mhm.
need to have something that is achievable,
Mhm.
and that you can feel good about doing. So yeah, so I would say that each, and we come back, the next time we come back, we talk about whatever you had to do. We build on that, because um, whatever you did will tell us what, if you can continue that, if we need to veer off, like, so everything is always like, what are you doing today and this week that we can
Mhm.
take for the next week and bring you up a notch and just keep bringing you up to where you want to be. And it doesn't take as long as people think, if you do the work. And yeah, you
There's a
gotta do the
kicker.
work. So yeah, and I do, even when I was in the clinic. So I'm one of those people where, you do kind of want to do the work, because you don't really want to look at me and say I didn't do it. Because I don't know, it's just
Mhm.
something about me where people don't want to disappoint me. I'm so happy about that. But yeah, so they do kind of do it. And yeah, so we just continue to progress. That's the way it is. I can't talk specifics because uh I don't think anybody's come to me and they've been the same as another person. They're
Mhm.
all generous. Some people are more motivated, some people are less motivated, some people's symptoms are more. Yeah, so it all depends.
That makes sense. But um, what I really like about that is that it's personal and it's personalized. Because if you're telling me that everybody comes to you for different things, that also tells me that you're not pigeonholing your people into certain categories. And I love that, because everybody's situation is different.
Yeah, I don't delve a lot into the whys. Some things happen,
Mm.
but I know there are whys.
Mhm.
And sometimes you have to take that into account. We
Mhm.
all got a backstory.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
can't treat everybody the same.
It's true. That's true. And so the theme of the podcast is how the outside makes the inside better. But and we haven't talked about the outdoors at all, because I've been so interested in everything that you've been talking about. And I didn't want to stop the conversations. So let me ask you just specifically, do you see a difference of the people that you're coaching, or do you see a difference with you in the involvement of being outdoors and being exposed to the outdoors? How does that reflect?
Well, I'll talk about me first. So the
Mhm.
outdoors is rejuvenating for me. It is I love the water. So I love looking
Oh,
at
me too.
water. I love seasons.
Hmm.
I love looking at nature. I love the wonder of the world. I put it that way. So I can sit and I'm like, I am in awe.
Hmm.
I'll be outside looking at I'm like, thank you, Jesus, for just thank you. So that's me. For my clients, I always encourage them to go outside. So
Hmm.
I encourage sunlight.
Mm.
I Even if you sit outside, because for people who can't walk, people who can't get around, you know,
Hmm.
their family members, I'm like, okay, can they sit outside? Can you put them outside? Say what I don't know what, but put them outside 10 minutes something. So for a little bit of air, light, reflection, however you want to look at it. But I think that there is power in
Hmm.
nature and power in the sun and the moon, but
Hmm.
just that you need um just to keep yourself ticking.
Mm. Yeah, I think that that's also important to remember, because when we think of the outdoors, we think about, for me, well, I think activity, got to do something. And so it doesn't always have to be that way. It is almost more important to be able to take the time and to sit quietly. But also, if you're physically not able to do some sort of an activity outdoors, just being outdoors is important. getting that sun on your face and actually getting the sun into your eyes and bringing it down into the inside is really, really very important, especially the morning sun.
Right. If you can get out in the morning, fabulous. I always encourage walking, because to me, that's the easiest thing for people who can do it, to get out and walk. And this is for people, not the gym people, not the, not the super hikers, all these people, because you're going to get your activity. But for people who are generally not as active, walking is something good. And walking outside to me is the best because of just the resetting of your clock, setting of your melatonin, setting for, all the things that it's beneficial for.
And the benefits of the sun on your hormones as well, and absorbing that too.
Yeah.
So, Shelia, I really appreciate your time here today. And so tell me, how can people get in touch with you? Or wait, don't answer that question. First, the first question for that is, what if somebody wasn't sure, do I need a health coach? What should they consider? How would they answer that? Or what would they say? Well, I don't know that I need one.
That's a good question. So, well, there's a couple things. So most, well, I don't know about most. I always offer people like a 15-minute free consult, because I'll tell you whether or not you need me or not. I can tell you that. But there might be somebody else. I'll tell you if you don't need me, But one of the best ways that you would know if you would need a health coach is if you are unsure about how to manage any kind of symptom, like say, for example, that you have high blood, I'll give you the easy one. You have high blood pressure and you can't get it under control. And, the doctor just keeps putting you on medicine. You can't figure it out, whatever. That might be something good to have a health coach work with you with. If you have diabetes, and it's the same situation, because if you go to the doctor, you're going to get more medicine if it's not under control. I mean, just pick a diagnosis. Just pick one. But you're going to get more. So if you don't want to get, if you're having trouble controlling symptoms, if your symptoms are mild and you want to try to get rid of them. If you want to feel better, if you're overstressed and you cannot get life together, if you don't sleep, and specifically for me with bladder leaks, if you can't exercise because every time you walk you are leaking, if you're starting to wear light bladder leaks or menstrual pads, I was going to designate between the two because the two of them are different, but people use the menstrual ones, but you shouldn't. But anyway, if you're using those and you're just like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I can't figure out how to do it. You've tried the Kegels, whatever. Okay, well, that's a coach, somebody like me, whatever. So there are different, and it's different coaches that specialize in different things. If you have a chronic disease and you know that you want to be able to get up and do a little something, like you just wallow, you don't understand why you can't get it together, you can benefit from a health coach.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So there's many, like I say, there's so many different things that we can do,
But I think that's really good. Yet all of those things are things that you don't have time to talk to your doctor about, but you're also only going to get, you're going to get that the prescription piece of paper quite often too. And you need to be able to have somebody to take that extra time to teach you how to help yourself.
Right. Oh yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Teach you how to help yourself. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So tell me about your book and then tell people how to get in touch with you.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I did write 2 books on my favorite subject, bladder leaks. So I have 2 of them. And the first one is Denise's favorite title. It is To Pee or Not to Pee. Okay. And it's the guide.
I love that.
It's a guide to eliminating your urinary incontinence. And the second one is Stop Your Bladder Leak. Or Stop Worrying About Your Bladder Leak. And they both, one of them has like mechanical information, like how to actually, what the bladder leaks are about, how to actually do your Kegel, how many times you should do it, that kind of thing. That's the first one. The second one is more like the why. Like, why do you get bladder leaks more after menopause? Why do you, why do you get bladder leaks if you're heavy? Why? That kind of thing. So the two books kind of work in conjunction. So that's that. To get in contact with me. So you can contact me through my email, which is the pelvicdpt@gmail.com. You can also go on Facebook. I do a lot on Facebook because I do reels on Facebook, which I got to get back to because the holidays I did get a little messed up, I just have to say. But I do reels on Facebook, and they are generally, they're very short, like 30 seconds, but they're like, okay, well, this exercise will help you if you have bladder leaks, or this exercise will help you if your posture is poor, or if you need to do strengthening of certain muscles. Like I'll just have something on there about arm exercises, planks, whatever. You can, and that is the pelvic coach, Dr. Shelia, because everything is kind of Dr. Shelia, the pelvic coach. So you can even find me on Instagram. Instagram is not my favorite. You can find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook quite a bit, and I just started doing TikTok. So I'm just trying to get out there just to give a little bit of information. You don't have to do anything. You can just look at the information. Just nothing that you got to really do, because I don't really sell anything on those. I just have the information out there. So that's how you can find it.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We'll make sure we put those in the show notes too. But Shelia, I want to thank you again for being here. And it's been a really great conversation, and I'm glad that Denise connected the two of us. And I look forward to talking again.
Of course. Yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening today. Today's show is sponsored by Seaside Solutions, my financial services company. As a business owner, it's easy to be pulled in many different directions, and often taking care of yourself plummets to the bottom of the list. For me, I find myself outside to reground. My time outdoors helps me manage my day more effectively and be more present for my clients. Through this, Discover Rising Tides was born. At Seaside Solutions, we truly believe that education is the foundation of financial wellness. Our primary focus is to provide guidance that is designed to help you achieve your long-term financial goals and visions. Working with a plan allows space for doing more things that you love, like being outside to make the inside better. If I can help you create or realign your plan, or if you would like to be added to my weekly newsletter, please let me know. This week's topic was 5 ways to set more achievable goals. Your referral means the big, beautiful world to me, and if I can help, please let me know. And thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.